Are you guys ready for the most controversial spark plug video on the internet? Stick around. Okay guys, I'm Kyle with Dirt Bike Channel, and I certainly don't want to create any controversy. I don't know that this will be controversial, but then again, I did a Facebook post that actually spurred a little bit of controversy, and so I just kind of wanted to do a little bit more research on this and do a video about it. So first things first, let me get out of the way that I am not an expert. I'm just a regular guy. I've never claimed to be an expert on any subject matter, and I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. Although I am the son of a 65-year-old mechanic who's been turning wrenches longer than my 37 years of life, and so I have picked up some things from him, so I'm not a complete idiot when it comes to turning wrenches and spark plugs and all these other things. But I'm no expert. So let's get into this. Now, why am I doing this video? Well, a couple weeks ago, Jeff Slavens put out a video, and I want to go on record of saying that I have no problem with Jeff Slavens. I've never had any personal interaction with him. I've bought some parts from him. Seems like a good guy, seems like a knowledgeable guy, seems like a good rider. I'm totally fine with him and everything he's doing. And he had a video that came out that said, you know what? If you've got one of these fuel-injected TPI bikes from KTM or Husqvarna, you should probably change out your spark plug immediately, because he's telling you, or he told in that video, that there's a problem with the spark plugs, the newer spark plugs, the projected tips, or the extended reach spark plugs that are coming on these TPI bikes. And so he's saying, look, for cheap insurance, you might as well just go ahead and change to one of the older, more conventional style spark plugs that we've been using for 15 years, because it's cheap insurance on your bike and you're not going to have a problem with it. And I thought to myself, you know what? I haven't ridden the bike yet. I've just been setting it up here in my shop, but what the heck? I've got one of the plugs that he was talking about. Now, specifically, the plug that he said to put into the bike was this Iridium plug, which is an NGK ZGR7GI plug. But he said multiple times down in the comments to other people that you could also use the standard version of the same plug, which was the NGK ZGR7ES. Now, I had multiple of these just kicking around my shop, because these are the plugs that have come with all of the dirt bikes that I've purchased from KTM over the last, I don't know, 8 years. So even this bike right behind me has this same plug in it, this 2019 KTM 250XC. So I went ahead and I put the NGK ZGR7ES plug in the bike, didn't think anything of it, and just went about my merry way. Then I went on a ride, the first time I rode the bike, down in Arizona, about a week ago, and the bike never ran right. It never ran right. It was hesitant in the mid-range. It was bogging. It was doing like a little gravelly, gargly thing. It was fine down at low RPMs, and it was fine once it got up on the pipe. But in the mid-range, in the 1/8 throttle to 1/4 throttle, the bike did not run properly. And I was very disappointed with how it ran. And I wasn't thinking anything about the spark plug. And then I got it home and I was washing it, and I was thinking about, I wonder if it's the spark plug. And then one of my buddies, Tyler, he sends me a text message. He's like, hey, remember how you were telling me the bike didn't run that well down there? Have you seen Tokyo Off-Road's video? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So he sends it to me. And Tokyo Off-Road is talking about this very same plug issue. He's talking about how in his video, and you'll see, you can go to it very easily, he talks about how these extended reach plugs are there for a reason. It puts the area of spark, the ignition, down closer into the center of the combustion area, in the center of the combustion chamber, by about 4 millimeters, as opposed to these standard reach plugs. There's a few reasons for that. You can probably see that, and you can probably think, you get that spark down there in, closer into the piston, it's going to be a hotter spark. It's also going to be a more efficient spark if the point of ignition is down there in the center of the combustion area. Now, in Jeff Slavens' video, he says that, hey, the plugs that are coming in these KTMs are not for high RPM, they're not for racing. I don't know. All I know is that a billion-dollar company, KTM, has decided to put that special plug in the bike. I have to assume for a reason. Jeff Slavens says that these plugs, they only did it for emissions reasons, and it's something that they used to do back in the day on trials bikes. Again, I don't know that. But here's what I will tell you. The bike ran like garbage when I had the BR7ES plug, And I got ripped on Facebook because people are saying, hey, that's not the plug that Jeff Slavens said to put in there. He said put the Iridium plug in there. But in the comments, he had also told multiple people it was okay to use just the BR7ES plug. So that's what I used. So then today I went out and I bought the Iridium version of the plug, the BR7EIX. This is the Iridium version. This is the exact plug that Jeff Slavens said to put in the bike to make sure that you don't blow the thing up. I put this in the bike and I ran it today, and it ran like garbage. Both of these plugs, both of these standard reach plugs that come in all of the other KTMs that I've ever had, including this one right here behind me, these plugs both made the bike run like garbage. Garbage. So then I'm testing this thing, you know, trying to be thorough with this. I put the stock extended reach plug, and that plug is the NGK ZGR7GI. I had to look up on my board because it's now back in the bike. I put that back in the bike and the bike runs clean again. That gravelly, gurgly section in the throttle is gone. It's gone. It runs good. So here's what I'm thinking. If you go back and you watch Jeff Slavens' video, he actually does mention that it's actually the compression. When you start to add compression to these motors, that's where you're going to have the problems. I think the multiple emails that he's talking about getting are probably people who have added compression into their motor. I'm not adding compression into my 300s. I don't feel like the 300 has to have a high compression head. I like to run the high compression head on my 250s, but I don't like the way they run on the 300s. So I don't put them on the 300s, the high compression heads. I didn't put a high compression head on the 250 fuel injected bike that I had. So, is there really a problem with the spark plugs? I don't think that there is. While it's possible that if you're running a super hot, hopped up bike, while it's possible that having that projected tip down in there could make everything a little bit hotter, it is totally possible. So maybe if you are running a high compression bike, maybe you do need to switch plugs. But something that Tokyo Off-Road said, and hopefully you've listened this long, is that it actually retards the timing by taking and putting these standard reach plugs back in the bike. It could retard the timing as much as 2 to 4 degrees. And if it does that, it's affecting everything. And I think that's why it's making this bike run subpar. It's making it run like garbage with these standard reach plugs. Whether I do the Iridium version or whether I just do the standard version, both of these standard reach plugs do not run well in this bike. I have tested it. In the last hour and a half, I've run all 3 plugs in the bike. Yes, I gapped them to the standard gap measurement as per the manual. And only one of them ran correctly, and that is the stock plug. Now, I understand those plugs are very expensive, but here's the other thing. I have never fouled a plug. I've had those plugs in my bikes for 100, 150 hours. I've never fouled one. All of my riding buddies, we have never fouled a modern 2-stroke plug. If the bike is jetted and running properly, I've never fouled one. I used to carry them in my packs. I don't anymore because it seems like it's not needed because I've never fouled one. So just to kind of do a little bit of recap, I'm just going to look at my board. In Slavens' video, he says change it immediately. I would say pump the brakes on that. He also says that that projected tip is not tolerant of high compression. That could totally be. He also says that it's probably a tuning issue, which I agree with. And it's the high compression that's causing the problem. I agree with that. The other things I noticed from his video, he says that your motor and running the stock plug is like rolling the dice and it's a ticking time bomb. Here's what I will tell you about every motor. Every motor is a ticking time bomb. I will take that risk. NGK has been making spark plugs for longer than I've been alive. KTM is a billion-dollar company. I don't think they've screwed up so badly that they're putting plugs in our bike that are going to tear them apart. I just don't believe that. So I'm going to stick with my stock plug because I don't think it's going to ruin my bike. I don't think I'm going to have a failure. Another thing that Jeff Slavens said, which I totally agree with also, is that there's not a lot of money in selling spark plugs. I don't think he was doing that to try to create hysteria and get you to buy a spark plug from him. I don't think he's that type of a guy. So anyway, I'm just giving an alternate viewpoint on it because my bike did not run well with either of the two plugs that Jeff Slavens said to put in the bike. It only runs well with the stock plug, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think I'm going to have a plug failure, and I don't think I'm going to have a motor failure running that stock plug in stock setup. I'm going to run the stock extended reach plug so that my timing isn't altered, so that the bike runs at the correct temperatures and all these other things that KTM has been putting the R&D into. Are these bikes perfect? No. This bike doesn't actually run quite as good as the other 250 fuel injected bikes that I've been around. I think there's just something about it. It doesn't run quite as good, but it screams, and it runs phenomenal when it's got the stock plug in it. When it's got these plugs, not so much. So anyway, that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's just been my experience. Again, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I know everyone is trying to do their best, and I think everyone has the greatest intentions and the most pure intentions in this whole deal. Just wanted to share with you my experience and my now opinion of which plug I want to run. If you want to support these videos, there are links down in the description to parts. I will be forever in your debt if you would use those links down there. You can also support me on Patreon, and very, very soon I will be offering graphics kits. Maybe even by the time you see this video, I will be offering Dirt Bike Channel graphics kits, and I'm hoping to even start to offer parts from different companies that you can see on my website. If you go to dirtbikechannel.com, I've got all the information over there. So I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me, and I hope that I didn't offend anyone, because I wasn't trying to offend anyone. I respect everyone in the dirt bike community. Everyone, Jeff Slavens does a great job. Tokyo Off-Road does a great job. Barry Morris does a great job. There are so many good people out there in this industry, and I just want to thank everyone for trying to push everything forward. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.